Super Mario 63 is a classic amongst Mario fan games. In fact, it's widely regarded as one of the best Flash games of all time because of the perfect mixture of gameplay elements and design features from some of the most iconic Mario games, all while being brilliantly remade in 2D.
And honestly, that was the only level I didn't enjoy. The rest of the game is purely fantastic.
I had no idea what to expect, and my expectations, what they were blown away.
It's a genuinely fantastic game that I think deserves more praise and recognition outside of just nostalgia posting.
It became an instant hit when it was officially released, gathering tens of millions of plays over the years. Some players liked it for the gameplay and the story, while others were more keen on using the level designer to let their creativity roam free and create levels which they could share with their friends or to simply post online via the level portal. Well, unfortunately, approaching the game's 16th birthday, the gaming world received some tragic news, as on February 22nd of this year, it was shut down for good from the internet by Nintendo. And the worst part is, other Flash games are in great danger of disappearing as well. Today, I will be sharing with you the story behind how Super Mario 63 came to life, how two brothers with virtually no experience would go on to create this masterpiece, and what led to its sudden removal from the biggest Flash game hubs on the internet. Our story begins 20 years ago, when a 15-year-old at the time named Robert Hewitt, who went by the nickname Bruno, decided to take on a huge challenge, creating his very own Flash game. This was around the time when Flash games were getting massive amounts of attention, and he wanted to hop on this trend as well. Only problem was, he had no experience at all coding. Back then, YouTube had just been released for a few months, so finding video tutorials was very uncommon. That wasn't enough to hinder him though, because he found some forums on Newgrounds which featured tips for beginners that greatly helped him understand the basics. Even though his programming abilities kept improving, he didn't really have a clear idea of what he wanted his game to look like. That's when his younger brother, Steven, who shared the Runouw name with him, came to the rescue. He wasn't fond of programming at the time, he was more passionate about the artistic side of things. On a random day, while he was looking through a website called the Spriter's Resource, one sprite sheet in particular piqued his interest. The sprite sheet was made by an artist known as Flair, and it showcased Mario from Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga wearing the Flood water pack seen in Super Mario Sunshine. That's when Robert got the idea to create a remake of Super Mario Sunshine in 2D, while also incorporating things from other popular Mario games. Now that he knew what he wanted to make, the Runouw duo got to work. Robert took care of the programming side, while Steven handled the level design and the sprites. The first beta for it was released on September 9th, 2005. After almost a year of hard work, they officially released their first game called Super Mario Sunshine 64 on June 6th, 2006. As the name implies, while it was mainly inspired by Sunshine, it also contained many design features from Super Mario 64. The game had 4 main stages: Bob-omb Battlefield, Hazy Maze Cave, Tall Mountain, and Rainbow Ride. The main hub closely resembles 64 as well, but the game had a few original ideas mixed in too. It had 2 time attack levels, where the goal is to complete them as fast as possible, a secret level, and 2 enemy gauntlet levels. But as you may expect from a first game, and especially considering that it was 2006, it was not a polished game at all. It had ambitious ideas, but the lack of coding experience from the duo resulted in a game with a lot of bugs. However, the standards back then were much lower than they are in the present day, so despite all this, the game received a surprising amount of support on Newgrounds. Following the release of SMS64, Robert kept experimenting with Flash for the next few years to expand on his programming skills for their next game. He upgraded from ActionScript 1.0 to 2.0, and from Macromedia Flash Player 8 to CS4. He tried experimenting with a website called Weekade, which let you use pointer controls, gyro, and Wii mode buttons in Flash. The performance was too weak though, so no new promising projects came from it. Over time, as he became better and better at coding, he was embarrassed by much of the programming from SMS64. So, he decided to start working on a sequel, originally called Super Mario Sunshine 128. The first beta for the sequel came just 5 months after SMS64's release, and it already had plenty of new additions. For one, instead of 2 nozzles, the squirt nozzle got removed and two brand new ones got added, Rocket and Turbo. Then, two more stages were added, Lethal Lava Land and Snowman's Land. It's uncertain when the next beta was released, but we do have two previews posted by Runouw themselves in mid-June 2007. They showcased a brand new shine called Secret of the Mushroom, alongside an overhaul of the Bowser's Castle stage from the prequel. It also introduced the basement portion of the castle, the upper hallway which leads to upstairs, and a castle backyard. Another addition was Bowser in the Dark World, with a red coin shine and the Bowser fight, just like in the original. Tick-Tock Clock and Boo's Mansion, which is a remake of the Big Boo's Haunt stage, also got added. Hazy Maze Cave got two more shines that could be collected, and it added the ability to zoom in and out by pressing the plus and minus keys respectively. The following beta came a short while later, introducing a new collectible, Star Coins, and even more shines were added to Rainbow Ride, Boo's Mansion, and Hazy Maze Cave. 2 more months passed, and on September 9th we would see yet another beta. This update mostly consisted of improved graphics all around, but new content was also sprinkled in. The game now had an intro cutscene when starting a file, which already looked a lot more promising than the intro from SMS64. The endless staircase to reach Bowser's castle was added, alongside a secret room inside the castle that had the Hover Flood. Swamp's Castle, Frosty Flood, and Magma Maze had also been added as secret shrines. But the most important change was the addition of secret passageways throughout the castle. This made traveling to the late game areas possible way earlier than intended, assuming you were observant enough to find them, of course. It gave the players the freedom to complete the stages in whatever order they liked, while also encouraging them to explore the castle more. On November 24th, we would receive the last beta for Super Mario Sunshine 128, at least under this name. You see, as they were developing the game, the Runouw brothers realized that even though this game was supposed to be named Super Mario Sunshine 128, now it featured a lot more elements from Super Mario 64 than it did from Sunshine. Therefore, Robert decided they should take out Sunshine from the name entirely. But he didn't want to leave it as Super Mario 128 because they didn't want to brag about their game. So, in order to complement the fact that it was a 2D game, it was renamed to Super Mario 63. On the very first day of the following year, we would get the first of two betas before the official release of the game. This wasn't a significant beta as far as new content is concerned. The main new features were the proper introduction of Luigi as a playable character, who had different physics compared to Mario, and a brand new secret shine named Tidal Isles. However, this was another beta that focused mostly on improving the overall design of the game, with many graphical changes being introduced. 6 months later, on July 9, 2008, the final beta was posted. 3 more secret shines got added, a Galaxy of Stars, Secret of the Sky, and Dire Dire Dogs, as well as 2 brand new storyline shines, the red and green shines, found in opposite parts of the castle, with each one featuring a boss fight. The green shine was used to unlock the basement section of the castle, while the red one was used for upstairs. Bowser in the Dark World was renamed to Bowser's Trap, and Bowser's Second Trap, which resembles Bowser in the Fire Sea, also got added. And so, that brings us to June 10th, 2009, when Runouw's game got officially released on Newgrounds and Shizyard. Cave of Empuzzlement and the Edge of the Mushroom Kingdom were the last secret shines that got added, and Dire Dire Docks was renamed to Jolly Roger Bay. A castle shortcut was added to get to Bowser's Trap 1 early, alongside a hidden pipe beside the level that takes you straight to the Bowser fight. A functional final fight against Bowser was added at the end of the space section. Luigi was no longer accessible from the start of the game. Instead, he was locked behind a door in the prizes room that required 32 star coins to open. And finally, the level designer was now fully finished. This time around, the game was a lot more diverse. Now, there were a total of 64 shines and 64 star coins that were available to the player, alongside the 3 Bowser keys. It also featured a much more complex moveset. Instead of simply walking and jumping, Mario could now double and triple jump, spin in the air, ground pound, dive, and backflip. And if that wasn't already enough, the level designer was miles ahead of its time. The captivating storyline and the amazing level of detail present in the mechanics and in the overall design of the game, as well as the addition of the level designer, made it one of the most memorable Flash games of all time. It surpassed 1 million plays on Newgrounds in no time, and the Runouw brothers could finally be proud of their creation. After the massive success of Super Mario 63, They would release 2 updates to the game in the upcoming weeks, which consisted mostly of bug fixes. But only a few months later, on August 15th, Steven, who was always seen as the creative mind behind Runouw, would release his solo game called GT and the Evil Factory to showcase his programming skills as well. In 2010, Bruno would post a preview of their new project called The Last Legacy. That same year, they would create a level portal for the level designer in SM63, which was hosted on their website, Runouw.com. Now, players could share their levels with each other easier than ever before. The final update came on November 11th, 2012, which added a bunch of new items to the level designer. But also in 2012, something rather unexpected happened. Robert received a message from Tom Fulp, one of the main admins of Newgrounds, warning him that Flash games started to be taken down because of Nintendo, and that Super Mario 63 would have to be temporarily removed so as to not escalate the conflict. The game would eventually resurface online, but Runouw knew there was a big problem. Their intentions clearly weren't to rip off Nintendo in any way. They were just two brothers trying to break out into the gigantic world of Flash games. It was by pure luck that Super Mario 63 managed to get such a popularity that even Nintendo would notice it. But now, they had to take responsibility for what they had created. For now though, it seemed like Nintendo calmed themselves down, and their game kept getting more and more plays. On August 21st, 2013, Bruno would finally release Last Legacy, which was yet another platformer game. But even though it took 3 years for Last Legacy to be released, the second chapter of the game, Last Legacy Null Space, would come out not even a year later, on June 3rd, 2014. Player could now spawn blocks out of thin air, or destroy them to help himself escape from danger. There was also an upgradable equipment system to become stronger while navigating from one dimension to the other. The graphics had also been improved considerably, but even though it did resemble SM63 a tiny bit, it didn't manage to get nearly as much success. But after the release of Null Space, something very strange happened. Robert, who had been active in the Flash game scene ever since his debut, suddenly vanished off the face of the internet. For the following years, no one could reach out to either of them anymore. The level portal on their website eventually stopped working as their website wasn't seeing any new updates, which severely impacted the activity from the level creating community. Because of this, Super Mario 63, which was among the most played Flash games ever, would lose most of its activity. However, it would still bring a little spark in the hearts of the ones who played it every now and then. Fast forward to 2021, all Flash games would take a major blow, as Flash Player had officially been discontinued, meaning they couldn't be played on those massive websites anymore. However, they could still be played if they were downloaded as an exe file, so they weren't actually gone forever. Around this time, a new emulator called Ruffle was slowly becoming compatible with more and more Flash games, and eventually hubs like Newgrounds managed to relist most of their games using it. But because it was still in development, some games couldn't be played like they were supposed to, because of some very subtle changes between Ruffle and the original Flash Player. This also included Super Mario 63, which became an unbeatable game because of a softlock that occurred in the final fight against Bowser. And so, we arrive to the present day, after 13 years of silence from Nintendo, when the final nail in the coffin arrived, as they forced everyone to remove the game off their website. And this time around, they look like they won't be backing down anytime soon. Thankfully, the game can still be played on the standalone version, which you can download off of Internet Archive. There will be a link in the description with a tutorial if you want to relive these ancient memories. And so, the legacy of Super Mario 63 isn't just about pixels and platforming. It's a story of two brothers who defy the odds, of passion triumphing over experience, and of an entire community that found joy, creativity, and connection through a humble Flash game. What started as a teenager's dream spiraled into a phenomenon that shaped the childhoods of an entire generation. It stood the test of time, not just because it was fun, but because it had heart. Even as Nintendo tightens its grip and Flash fades into the digital shadows, the spirit of games like these lives on in our memories, and in the determination of fans who refuse to let them be forgotten. Every custom level created, every jump performed, is part of a shared history that corporate takedowns can't erase. Bruno created a timeless experience. They created something that inspired us to play, to dream, and to create. Here's to all of you who kept it alive with your passion and your play. Until next time, keep gaming, keep creating, and never underestimate what a couple of kids with a vision can do. A huge thank you goes to Bruno for helping me with the research. If you liked the video at any point, please consider liking it and subscribing, as it would really help me out a lot. And as always, thank you all for watching.